Hello, everyone. Welcome back to yet another political episode. So, we have a very, very exciting day tomorrow. The very first presidential debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris is tomorrow. Not to mention the very last set of primaries also to begin during that debate in Delaware, New Hampshire, and Rhode Island. If you are from those two states, that you probably know already before compared to all of us, there are primaries that day. And uh, it's important to go out and vote. I'm guessing that most people are going to be tuned into the debate compared to the election results coming in because we know it's just going to be. I guess some people will be speculating, but the primaries the down ballot primaries are already done, and yeah, we're just going to go ride the rail down to election day on November 5th, to the general elections. So we have a very special and exciting day tomorrow. A lot of people are nervous, a lot of people are excited, and a lot of people don't know what to expect. Will Donald Trump do good against Kamala Harris, or will Kamala Harris blow it? And a lot of people have mixed reactions when it comes to that. I would say both sides are confident that their candidate will do pretty good, but both candidates are taking precautionary measures to make sure that, you know what, they don't underestimate the other. The Trump team just came out and said, you know what, the likelihood of Kamala Harris coming out of this debate is pretty high. Let's remember, we are transitioning from a candidate who is completely brain dead, and Donald Trump in the recent debate handily defeated him. He didn't need to try, really. But now we have a candidate who is younger than Donald Trump by, I don't know, 20 years. And and it's really arguably the intellectual side. You could go ahead and say that, oh, Kamala Harris isn't the smartest, but the left and the Democrats will go and say, oh, Donald Trump's not really the smartest. Uh, when it comes to uh, basically how to take on the other. So it should be interesting, but I do predict that Kamala Harris is going to have a couple moments and Donald Trump is going to have a couple moments. I am not going into this debate thinking that Kamala Harris is going to fall apart immediately. I think over time, maybe. I don't know. I honestly do not know how Kamala Harris is going to handle herself during this debate. Now, looking at last week's interview, I don't know if it was last week or the week after, the week before, how that interview went, you'll see Kamala Harris really does not do good under pressure. Donald Trump, on the other hand, he handles himself just fine. Although he may have some awkward moments, he can lose his temper sometimes under pressure. We can clearly see. But Kamala Harris just goes full word salad. She goes and tells us with her teddy bear Tim Walz that she is now opposed to the banning of fracking and that she now wants to fix the border and that she wants to support stronger criminalization laws. She opposes defunding the police now, and lastly, she ended her interview claiming that her values haven't changed. So I'm confused, Kamala. You just said that you aren't opposed to defunding the police anymore. Focus on the word anymore. You're not opposed to defunding the police anymore. You're not opposed into banning fracking. You're not opposed to, as you know, lacking or slacking on immigration or giving health care. You don't support giving free health care to migrants anymore. But now you tell us your values haven't changed. That confuses voters. And that is the word salad that voters should know about. The word Kamala Harris word salad. There is no better candidate or person that can fix you up tasty word salad than Kamala Harris. She can fix it up all for you. She'll tell you that she opposes fracking. No, she supports fracking now. She supports. She doesn't support defunding the police. She supports the national security. She supports stronger laws and cracking down on criminals. And then finally, she tells you that her values haven't changed. And that confuses voters. But can that be enough to take out Kamala Harris? Now, I don't want to say that's going to be enough to take out Kamala Harris. I can't say that. Because if I said that, I would be misleading you. I would be getting people's hopes up. No, we got to admit, Kamala Harris has some sort of intellectual ability. She is somewhat kind of smart. Let's remember, she was a prosecutor and she was an attorney general. Then she became a senator from California, and then she became the vice president. Okay, you got to be a smart person to climb the ladder. And Donald Trump, too, he became president without climbing those steps. And that's very impressive. And usually you don't see that happening. But to be fair, Donald Trump is a businessman, an internationally known businessman that is worldwide known. So, of course, he didn't really have to climb the ladder of first start as a district attorney, then go and be an attorney general or some lower state office, then become the governor, then become the senator, then become the vice president, or just jump to the presidency if you want. You don't have to climb that ladder like everyone else. So Donald Trump kind of being the spotlight on him for his whole entire life had that advantage. Kamala Harris, on the other hand, has the underdog in this because everyone's going around saying, who's Kamala Harris? If you went up and said, do you know who Donald Trump is? 90% of people will say, I do. And go back to the 70s. That's the rise of Donald Trump, remember? The 80s, 70s. Go back to the 1970s, go up to a hippie and ask them, hey, you know who Donald Trump is? Yeah, of course I know who Donald Trump is, because Donald Trump was just a rising figure during that time. So, yes, Donald Trump is easily recognizable, while Kamala Harris has been hiding in a closet for 4 years and avoiding all accountability when it comes to her job. And obviously, I think Donald Trump needs to go after her. And I think Donald Trump will have good blows on her with the immigration, because the border czar thing is pathetic. The news media thinks that we're too dumb, that we are too stupid, that we can't honestly, that we can forget that Kamala Harris was named the border czar. They tell us Kamala Harris was never border czar. She was never border czar. Well, I could pull up an article, which I'm not going to, but to save time, but I could pull up an article and tell you and clearly show you that Joe Biden named Kamala Harris the border czar, and that she even visited the border just once, and then she never visited again. And then Kamala Harris, when pressed on not visiting the border enough, she goes and mocks this question that American people are asking her. And quotes, it says, have I been to Europe? Have I been to Europe? Of course not, Madam President. You're not from Europe. You're implying that you don't need to go to the border, even though the border is literally being sieged by people that are not Americans. That are not American. There's no problem with them being American. It's not a race thing like the Democrats want us to think. We don't know these people. That's the point. We don't know these people that are barging through the border. And a majority of Americans are upset about this. A majority. And I'm sure a lot of Americans, I don't like deportations. I think deportations are sad, but I think they're necessary. The Democrats think we don't view as deportations as hard and rough. That we don't have any sympathy or empathy for people that are being deported. You know what? I think that's a lie. We have empathy and sympathy in different ways. I think we are disappointed more than showing empathy and compassion. Because we got to remember, you brought this upon yourself. You walked across the border, not only illegally, but then you decided to do illegal stuff and took advantage. And because of that, you have consequences for your actions, and the consequence is being deported. Now the Democrats want us to kneel down and cry and weep for them. Well, I have to say, I can only do that so much. All I can do is pray for your soul, because you're not going to go to heaven. You think Jesus is smiling down at you for walking across the border and looting and being a criminal? No. Do you think Jesus is going to go to you on Judgment Day and say, "Oh, you lived a difficult life, so it's okay. It honestly wasn't your fault for looting. You were having mental health problems. Oh, you had depression. You were suicidal. You can go to heaven." No, no. That's not how it works. Consequences even works in the afterlife. Consequences are eternal. Eternal. Not a world thing, but an eternal thing. An eternal concept. So do not ever forget that. So Donald Trump easily can press Kamala Harris on the immigration. That is probably the best point that Donald Trump can press Harris on. Harris's best talking point is going to be abortion. And I want to go into this thinking that, you know what, she's going to get some applause. She's going to get some points from the abortion. Why didn't Joe Biden didn't get any points from the abortion? Well, I'll tell you this. I wasn't predicting that Donald Trump was going to get out of that debate when it came to abortion just fine. No, I didn't predict that. That was because people kind of got over it. People got over it. But what I am fearing, and now a lot of people will think I'm dooming, but I am using logic. I am coming into this debate open-minded. And I'm saying what could happen is what we're seeing is Kamala Harris, which really, really benefits the pro-abortion view, the pro-choice American. That, hey, you know what? The pro-choice American and the pro-abortion Democrat will go and say, women are the ultimate victims of the overturn of Roe v. Wade. Well, here we have this woman, not just a woman of color, coming in, and her mission is to bring back Roe v. Wade. She isn't going to call it Roe v. Wade, because Roe v. Wade is just like it's like loss. It's just another name of a case that no one likes. With the result, like you could say Brown versus Board. You could say Gore v. Bush. I'm going to overturn Trump v. New York. Going to overturn what she's trying to do is overturn Dobbs v. Jackson. But to be honest, I don't think you can. Honestly, if you want, the only case you can do that is stacking up the Supreme Court. In other words, coup, which Kamala Harris knows best to do because she cooed herself in the nomination. She can literally overthrow the Supreme Court. The justices of the Supreme Court that have been nominated ever since George W. Bush and all the way through her, she'll just scrap it, and she will have to. Well, actually, I don't know if she can say, sorry, but you're out. I think she's going to stack more. She could add like 13 different candidates in the Supreme Court. That's an overthrow of the Supreme Court. Well, what makes you think you can do that? Stacking the Supreme Court. And you make it sound like, oh, the Supreme Court's so bad and authoritarian because majority of the court's Republicans and conservatives. Here's the funny thing. Those Supreme Court justices got into office in a democratic way because Americans voted to elect George W. Bush in 2000 and 2004. As a result, you got conservative justices. Sure, you got Barack Obama, who got, I believe, Sonia Sotomayor, but they didn't like that the Senate blocked Obama from confirming and putting Merrick Garland in the Supreme Court. Nope, you can't do that. Well, I don't think it would have had happened that way if Americans didn't vote to give Republicans the Senate in 2014. Think about it. You voting in the midterms, whoever you vote for senator, that senator is going to affect not just the Senate, but just other offices like the Supreme Court, right? So I'm sorry, all you guys who are claiming that the Supreme Court is so fascist and they just showed up. No, they didn't. They were actually elected. They weren't actually elected. They had other candidates representing them. An example, George W. Bush representing, I would say, Chief Justice, what's the Chief Justice name? I keep forgetting. Chief Justice John Roberts. Yeah, you vote. If you voted for George W. Bush in 2000 or 2004, you voted for John G. Roberts to be on the Supreme Court. Tough luck. Hey, if you back in 1988, you guys hate Clarence Thomas so much, even though he's an accomplished person of color, by the way, because the Democrats rage over and over that every time we criticize people like Kamala Harris, or I would say Fannie Willis, or I would say I'm trying to think other people, but they're like Barack Obama, legend, by the way. They don't like it when we say bad things about Barack Obama. It's racist. Well, they say bad things about Clarence Thomas all the time. And they went as far as saying Clarence Thomas lost his blackness. AKA, Clarence Thomas isn't African American anymore. They disowned him. And not only that, not only fellow African Americans doing that to him, but white people in general are saying he's not black anymore. What gives a white person the right to tell a black man that you aren't black anymore? Isn't that racist? Well, if that was a Trump supporter, that would have been really racist. But because that white person has a D by his name, he can get away with it. This is the scam. This is the scam. And the point I'm making here is 1988, George H.W. Bush blew through the roof in 1988. So many people went out and voted for him. Guess what? A lot of people, looking at the actual results, this is probably going to be a longer video because I think it's very important. A lot to talk about before tomorrow's debate. But look, 53% of Americans not just only voted for George H.W. Bush, but they voted for Clarence Thomas to be on the Supreme Court. Tough luck. Everyone hates Clarence Thomas. I care less. Yeah, we can always, every time you have a liberal heaving and reaving about Clarence Thomas and what he decided this time, remind them that, hey, guess what? Your parents most likely voted for H.W. Bush, or maybe they voted for Dukakis. I don't know, but a majority of Americans, 53.4%, voted for George H.W. Bush. They voted for Clarence Thomas. So rave about them. Rage about the 53% of Americans that are probably in, most likely 60s now. Realistically, they're in their 60s, early 70s. Complain about them. Complain about it to them because they were the ones that voted for it. So yeah, it's just mind-boggling. So here are the results going into the said debate. Like I said, and a lot of people are questioning me more on the abortion issue. How can Donald Trump get out of the abortion issue? Can he get out of the abortion issue without getting harmed? He can. He can, believe it or not. And a lot of people are like, how can he get out unharmed with this abortion issue. I would say the chances are less dimmer and less likely than it were with Joe Biden, because you got a female person of color who is angry that abortion was overturned, and she's standing up to the person who overturned Roe v. Wade. That's a very, very catchy narrative, guys. That's a narrative that could give Kamala Harris the gold medal for the debates. I am being completely honest with you. Many Americans aren't happy with the overturn of Roe v. Wade. They blame Trump for it. And you got a woman who is a person of color. She comes up here and shares her thoughts and how Roe v. Wade overturn affected her life. Well, here's the funny thing about that. It didn't affect her life at all, because she was the one benefiting from all while she was in office. Really? Like, come on. But I really do think, I do oppose some things about Donald Trump, believe it or not. Like, here's the thing. I'm not a person that agrees with Donald Trump all the time. I do disagree with his IVS stances. What's it called? IVS? IVF? IVF. Yes, IVF. Yes, I disagree. But I do respect Donald Trump's take on it. This is a position that Donald Trump feels he needs to take in order to get in. I do think, despite, you know what, I loved it more when Donald Trump was pro-life and he was signing anti-abortion bills into law. But here's the reality, guys. We're not going to win because, here's fortunately reality, because Roe v. Wade is gone, which is good. But that gives consequences. That kind of makes things even harder for Republicans. And that's what I was afraid of in 2022. Donald Trump knows this, and I'm glad he knows this. And I'm very frustrated with the pro-life group because they don't seem to understand. And they keep going off on Trump. Trump! The abortion amendment! Well, I didn't think he needed to go and endorse the yes option to support abortions up to like 9 weeks for pregnancy. I didn't think he needed to do that. But you know what? I'm not going to stop supporting Trump because he did that. The thing is, you know what? I don't agree with Trump on everything. But you know what Kamala Harris will do as president? You know what? Let's find out. I don't want to find out. Let's not find out. So let's put our trust that, you know what, there's majority of stuff I agree with Trump on. Majority. And realistically, there's never going to be a candidate that you agree on everything. And if you do agree on everything that a candidate believes, you're most likely an NPC. You're not human, you're a robot. You're programmed for that specific party. So, yeah, like I keep saying, in regards to going in, Donald Trump's taking good positions. I didn't think he needed to take it the IVF position. I think that abortion alone, supporting states' rights, was a good position enough. But I'm upset. I'm not upset. I'm frustrated with the forever pro-life groups. Even though I affiliate with these groups, I strongly support these groups. They make me for what I am. I am really critical because they don't seem to understand how the electoral system works. And they have a hard time accepting that a majority of people are angry that Roe v. Wade was overturned. And it's okay to accept that. They think that's a bad thing to admit it. But that's the truth. The truth is, majority, 60% of Americans say Roe v. Wade being overturned was a bad thing, a negative thing. It was hindering women. Do I think it was wrong to overturn Roe v. Wade? No. I think it needed to be done. And if a majority of American people don't like it, they can kick dirt. Kick dirt. Kick it hard. Kick the cliff. Kick dirt. That's what they did with Trump. But I do think we should have walked into overturning Roe v. Wade more prepared than we were, and accepted the fact, hey, look, people are going to be very angry. Here's what we're going to do forward.
here's what we're going to do forward. Donald Trump is taking that approach. No one else is. Ron DeSantis, Mike Pence. Mike Pence acts like he's pro-life. He really isn't. And that's what makes me so frustrated. If you are pro-life, Mr. Vice President, you would support Donald Trump because you know Kamala Harris would abort every single infant in this country. She would make a one-child policy. She would make record abortions. She make America the most abortion machine that it should be, in her mind. So no, Dick Cheney, you endorse Kamala Harris. You're not pro-life. Forget it. All those Republicans that endorse Kamala that don't even talk about abortion and pro-life with me. They have signed the contract to kill innocent infants. So don't even. But Donald Trump, despite saying, hey, you know what, I'm taking more of a moderate approach with abortion, he's still not saying kill all the babies. Even though the pro-life group's saying, oh my goodness, he's said he's supporting amendment whatever in Florida, no abortion. It's not over. That's not means, oh, therefore your pro-lifeness has been taken away. Really? One amendment. He's running for president to stop the most radical far-left president who's going to use the issue of abortion to win. I think Donald Trump is trying to get whatever he can to get those moderates, people that, you know what, don't like the radical left, but really, 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 really want abortion back on his side. Because Donald Trump has a lot of wounds. Hey, I'm the guy that took away Roe v. Wade. I'm the guy who so-called took away your rights. Women aren't happy. And you got a woman running for president that's running to bring their rights back. And I don't believe it's their rights, to clarify, but this is the narrative. So Donald Trump, abortion is going to be hard. Especially with Kamala Harris. So cross your fingers. Don't go into this debate saying, you know what? Donald Trump's going to score points when it comes to the border. He's going to score points in regards to the economy, but he could get hurt or get some dirt kicked in his face when it comes to abortion. And here's how he can turn that around. Bring up the border again. Because Democrats and Kamala Harris will say, oh, Donald Trump, it's hurting women. They're allowing women to be raped and not getting treated for it. Well, here's the funny thing. Democrats are allowing women to get raped at the border. And they are doing nothing about it. That's how you walk it back. Turn it back on them. This is how you literally flip your opponent with the issue that benefits you most, immigration. Kamala Harris wants to make an argument that abortion is killing women and putting women's quality of life lower. But Donald Trump can go and say, hey, you know what? So many women have died at the border. And you're the border czar, meaning they died under your watch. And you want to go and say you're pro-woman? That is a burn. And you know what? I think Donald Trump, he did that to Joe Biden in 2020. I think it's very possible, an indicating reminder in a good comparison of the issue of abortion and immigration. They both have a lot in common when it comes to women, believe it or not. And that's how, realistically, Donald Trump can score points in an issue that it makes him very unpopular. That's my optimism with it. But then again, being hopeful, but not over hopeful. Walk in thinking, you know what, this is Donald Trump's, this is where he's going to get some wounds. This is where he's going to get some backlash. And I'm not going to say, oh, be a man and own accountability to it. And you know what? Then you are honestly saying the overturn of Roe v. Wade was bad. I think the overturn of Roe v. Wade was good, but of course, the way they overturned it, I think that was pretty critical. They should have went in. Republicans should have said, you know what? We're going to try to find ways how to save a woman's life while giving birth if they are unable to give birth because of medical complications. This is how, and we're going to make it easier for women to give birth through, even though they are raped. We're going to make it easier for little girls to give birth without aborting the baby. Every woman, every child matter the same, and it would be a huge shock and huge devastation if one happened to die. This is pro-life, not pro-baby, not pro-woman. It's pro-life, and it's a casualty. And if either woman and or a baby died while in the process of labor. So this is my overall analysis for the debate. So before ending, I want to take a look at this poll I took. Very little. You guys can still take the poll. It's not closing. But right now, I sent a poll saying, how do you think the second debate will turn out? Now, we obviously know who the 6% will be, the trolls that always show up on every single video. You know what? I could care less about them. They are honestly, they make my day, honestly. I need some laughs after, boring videos. I mean, getting all this information can be boring, and I honestly need to be lightened up. So I go and look at these silly comments, and you know what? And it's disappointing that I have 6% saying Kamala Harris will slap Trump around, according to Harry Sissons. I mean, let's be honest. I was hoping that number would be bigger because I wanted to have more laughs. That's something to take something positive. So Kamala Harris mildly declared the winner. Okay, that's better. 12%. That's at least they're being realistic. They're being realistic, mildly, meaning. And I would think that would be the same. I think that'd be a 50-50 chance. We know the media, CNN, ABC, they're on a side. They are on the Harris-Walz campaign. And if Harris performs okay, they'll go ahead and declare her the winner. So 12%, honestly, I kind of agree with them on that. Toss-up, 6%. I think that's sort of the same. It's more no clear winner. Trump catches the most moments against Harris. That's possible because Donald Trump is not an incumbent, and Harris is. Harris has in her administration has caused a lot of problems, and I think realistically, under that abortion, Donald Trump would score points against Harris, majority of points. Trump unanimously wins the debate against Harris, no matter what, 53%. And that's why we're doing this video, because sometimes I feel people do not realize, I think we're cheerleading mode more. We want Trump to win, but that doesn't mean we're going to give him the debate anyway. I mean, we want to see how he does with Harris. We want to see how her base preps Harris up. And if Harris does a good job, I'm not going to be afraid to say she did a good job. A lot of people will be mad at me for it, but I'm going to say Kamala Harris did a good job. The Trump campaign is admitting out loud and saying, hey, you know what? Chances are high that Kamala Harris will get out of this debate pretty well, meaning that this debate would either go for Harris or it would be no toss-up, would be a toss-up said result. But this isn't something to doom about, of course. So what do you guys think? Take the poll down below. And, of course, I'll see you all in the next political episode.